Hey guys, Master here bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to jump in and do the revised tier list for the top 10 LRs in Dokkan, considering the release of Gohan, Goten and Trunks in these final parts of the global Dokkan campaign. So it's a very interesting scenario that we find ourselves in with the current meta. The top 5 I think has changed quite a bit since the beginning of the global Dokkan campaign. Even units that were higher up in part 1 that then maybe went down in part 2 have then potentially come back up again with the EX part. Obviously this tier list will be taking into account all of the content in the game, so some of the changes of course are relevant because of the newest Supreme Magnificent Battle stages, which have definitely had an effect on some of these teams. And as always, you know, I say this in all my tier list videos, but I say it in all of them because it may be the first one of mine that you've seen. But these are all, of course, based on my own personal experience playing the game and with the units, right? So if there's a unit that has an RNG element and every time I use them I get super unlucky, and every time you use them you get super lucky, you probably will consider them to be better than I will because I haven't had great experiences with them so far. So at the end of the day, it is all just my opinion. I try to do my best to explain why I put units above or below other units. I also, while still sticking to the kind of normal 1 to 10 thing, because it's kind of just the way I like to do them, the way I'm used to doing them, I do color the tiers as well. So if the tiers are the same color, then those units are interchangeable. So for example, if like 3, 4 and 5 are all the same color, then the unit that I put at number 5, you could think that they're better and should be at number 3, but because I put that tier all in the same color, like, I can see arguments for why that could be the case, right? So again, we're just going to jump in. It's all just my opinion. I'm always interested to hear what you guys think, if you agree or disagree, what your personal placements will look like. Shout out to the majority of people who do give good feedback to these tier lists, like people who, if you disagree with any of these placements, actually give good reasons for why you think that they should be different. Some people have given really good arguments in the past that have actually caused me to change some of my rankings when giving it a bit more thought. So I always like seeing good comments from you guys if you do disagree, and let me know what your personal top 10 looks like. So we're going to go ahead and jump in straight away at number 10 with the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku from the 10th anniversary that transforms into Super Saiyan 4. Now this guy is very interesting because he has kind of maintained a steady spot in the meta since the anniversary. A lot of people think that he is like the best aging 10th anniversary unit. He certainly is for the Carnival LRs for sure. Obviously in the early turns against some of these really hard hitting bosses, he will be dodge or die, but he has a 70% chance to dodge, and then he has guard, so he usually tanks normals relatively well, even in some of these other events like the Rose and Zamasu and things like that. And of course, you know, this guy has this exceptional utility with the Great Ape transformation, which you can get early if you lose a decent chunk of HP. Like a lot of the times in these difficult events, you can take a big hit in turn 1 and then just instantly transform into the Giant Ape with him in turn 2, which gives you that free turn that cancels out like the enemy super attack and special abilities and everything. Then he transforms into Goku and is giving everyone this massive extra defensive support and 10% damage reduction for these 2 specific categories. But he has a lot of allies around him in the meta at the moment that are on Power Beyond Super Saiyan or Giant Ape Power because of the GT Heroes buffs and some of the characters on the Fused Fighter team with like the new STR Blue Goku and Vegeta. So this guy is very, very valuable, and the fact that you can get that out super early if you take damage in the first turn is really good for these events that we're now seeing that are hitting very hard straight away. So this guy coming in on turn 2 can often be a massive bonus to the run. So I still think he's very good. He's at number 10. And then for number 9 and number 8, this is where I've put the 10th year fusions. So we've got Gogeta at 9 and Vegito at 8. Now I put all 3 of these guys in the same tier because honestly, for the shorter events that are really, really hard hitting, like straight away from turn 1, this Goku is probably better than both of these guys, right? Even though he is kind of relying on the dodge, he probably is better than them. And then I put Vegito, I think I put Vegito just over Gogeta because of how ridiculous the Vegito active skill can be, and because of his leader skill. which is slightly more, with Earth Protecting Heroes having like the Gohans and a bunch of other like characters in it. His leader skill is a bit more inclusive than Vegeta's when it comes to things like being able to use him as a friend leader. So for example, we got the recent team battle stage 7, where you fight against Gotenks, where you have to use 6 fusion characters, and you can throw this guy on as a friend. And you can do this for a lot of missions because the friend doesn't count, where you can just throw this guy on, and then when you get to turn 5, fuse into Vegito, use the Vegito active skill turn, and then in a lot of these events that have these specific category missions, like Vegito then just absolutely demolishes the event and you win and you still complete the mission, even though he's not on the specific category. Now obviously you can do that with other units like Gogeta, but with his leader skill, obviously successors not being as varied of a category as Earth Protecting Heroes, like this works really, really well. So Vegito is still super useful in a lot of events. In terms of the short, hard-hitting content, both of these guys are kind of in the same boat where they're a bit risky now. Though I will say in certain events, and this is why I put these guys in the same colour of the tier list, in certain events this guy can be better in the short, difficult stuff. Because if you have, let's say you have this guy coming in on turn 2, as long as he can survive that first turn, then you come back on turn 4, you can exchange it into the Goku and then use the Veku active skill, which then gives you the Ghost Usher, and the next turn this unit comes back, if the event is still going, he then has guaranteed dodge as well. So that Veku active skill is actually really, really powerful in some of these events, especially the shorter ones, and even in things like Rose and Zamasu. If you've taken out Zamasu, and now you're going to start building up Rose, which means obviously he's going to do more damage, and then you just have the ability to get rid of all of his attacks entirely. So this guy actually very, very strong. I did some of the new, I think I did the special battle the first time against Rose and Zamasu with the double Gogeta leads because of using that Veku active skill. So I think these two can easily be swapped around, which is why they're all in the same colour. And again, for shorter events, this guy can actually have a hell of a lot of value, and sometimes in some of those events actually be more useful to the team than these two. So I put them all in the same tier. Obviously for longer content where you have a chance to build up and the early phases don't hit as hard, Vegito is still going to be the craziest, right? You can get that bit of build up and then pull the trigger on the Vegito fusion and the active skill and have him just go absolutely crazy. So out of the three, in terms of like hitting their full potential, I think the Vegito is still slightly better. But yeah, we have Goku at 10, Vegeta/Gogeta at 9, and Goku/Vegito at 8. So then at number 7, we have the Tech Gods. We'll get 7 and 6 out of the way, right? Because I put the Super Saiyan 4s at 6. However, I did put them in different color tiers because I feel like with GT Heroes, with like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Saiyan Raw obviously being such a valuable link, and some of these other GT Heroes, Easy A's, I think the 4s are in a slightly better place. I always preferred the 4s to the Gods when they got their Easy A anyway, just because I prefer Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta to the like transformed blues, right? They're both still very good. They're both still very, very strong. I mean, obviously with the STR Goku team and like Fused Fighters, these guys absolutely do still have a home. They're like I would say probably a must-run unit on that team when you think about who the best 6 units for an STR Goku and Vegeta team would potentially be. These guys are still going to be on there. But you could definitely make a strong version of that team without them potentially, whereas I think these guys, like, you kind of almost always want to be running them if you're running any of the other Super Saiyan 4s. And then obviously the ability to counter super attacks and the fact that he gets extra damage reduction from the rainbow orbs, I think makes him significantly better than the blues. Obviously they can dodge, but events that disable dodge will obviously be super annoying for them. So I mean, you could probably make the argument that they should be the same color tier, but I think there is enough of a distinction with the Gogeta to the blues that they are in slightly different colors. So they're both above the 3 that we mentioned already, and then they're in their own unique colors for 7 and 6. And then of course we get into the top 5, and this is where, I mean, considering I've not mentioned any of those units already, it's probably pretty obvious who the top 5 are. The big question was, like what is the order of them going to be. And this is something that I sat and thought about for quite a while. I even mentioned on the podcast last night that I was planning to make the tier list today, and even then still wasn't 100% sure where I was going to put everyone. And so obviously we discussed all the new units and everything last night on the episode. Do go check it out. Obviously the VOD is up on the channel. Shout out to Minato and Vilify. And yeah, thinking about all of that stuff and then thinking about it more today before, like when actually putting the tier list together, I think I've finally settled on the order that I want to put them in. So at number 5 we have Rose. So this one was tough because I really like Rose. Even when part 2, when Omega and Gogeta had come out, even if I didn't necessarily think he was better than, say, Gogeta, I still thought he was probably my favourite unit in the game. I've always been a big fan of extreme units. I've always been a big fan of Goku Black and Zamasu. I really like this unit. I think he's really good. The massive letdown for him, I think, is the leader skill. I put out a video earlier today just talking about how disappointing Super Boss is as a team compared to the way some of the other teams have been built up with this Global Dokkan campaign. So I mean, if he had like Worldwide Chaos as the 220 lead, that would make him significantly better. Maybe would even put him up to number 4 potentially, I'm not sure, but I put him at number 5. I think with everything he's doing in his kit, he is super good. I do think like it's a bit disappointing because I do kind of feel the same way about the blues as well, where like I find myself never really exchanging into Zamasu because Goku Black is just so good defensively, and he buffs the other Goku Black characters, which you usually have multiple of on the team anyway. The one thing that this Zamasu is really good for is because of the healing on low HP thing. If you start the turn on low HP, you can switch to Zamasu, use his active skill, and then that basically gives you a full heal before the turn starts. And it does give this unit permanent 4 key and 40% attack, so then when you change back into Rose, obviously he's going to hit harder. But Rose's active skill obviously buffs all super bosses for 4 turns and gives that little bit of extra buff to Future Saga, so all the other Goku Blacks and Zamasus and everything on the team get this massive buff for 4 turns, which is really good, especially if you use one on one turn and then the next one on the next turn. You've got this massive buff, all the units are hitting harder and having better defense. Just overall, like, I cannot stress enough how much I really like this unit, and even like him being at number 5 seems kind of crazy for how good I think he is, but that's really more of just an example of how good all the other units are and how close all of the units are. Because at number 4 I put Omega, but I put these guys in the same color tier because I think for me, if I really break it down, I feel like I like Rose more in terms of what he does, like his passive, right? Like what the unit actually does in terms of his individual kit. However, Omega has the much better leader skill, and of course has this ability where he's giving the Extreme Allies defense for 2 turns, which means if you're running his team, as soon as you get to, as long as you've got one on turn 1 and on turn 2, as soon as you get to turn 2 and they've both picked up a Rainbow Orb, you've got this double support active, so everyone's getting 140% extra defense at all times, basically. And then of course GT Boss's characters get 20% damage reduction, so when you think about all of the crazy like Shadow Dragons, Easy A's and Super Easy A's and stuff that we've gotten, that makes the team super good. And of course Rose is like a go-to unit to run on this team, so that kind of gets around the disappointment with his leader skill because he just works super well on Omega's team. So he can just do really well on this team. I usually use STR Rose and AGL Rose, and then the rest of the team is like Physical Omega, Tech Sin, STR Omega, like the Shadow Dragon army. Like the team's just really good. And of course we'll continue to get more buffs with other characters releasing who don't specifically have to be super bosses, right? Like if we get another big power absorption character or another big Inhuman Deeds character, they'll be on this guy's team, and so his team has a lot more chance to get bigger buffs, whereas obviously the Rose team is only very specifically focused on super bosses, and for the most part ones that have to be extreme as well. So I put Omega at 4, just above Rose. They are the same color tier though, so for you personally, if you want to argue that Rose is slightly better than Omega, I could definitely see that. I definitely went back and forth with my thinking on these two, like after part 2 had started. I thought Rose was better, and then as I used Omega and his team more, like I could see the real value in having that really good leader skill and all of that defensive support. So then that gets to the top 3 characters, and this one was really tough, but I basically just put all three of these as the same color, right? So at number 3, I put the Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. At number 2, I put Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and at number 1, I put the blue Goku and Vegeta. So these guys are all the same color tier, so I'm going to say this straight away. That's why I've just jumped into straight away just going through the 3, 2, 1 placements. They're all in the same color tier because I feel like you could make arguments for any one of these 3 units being the best unit in the game. Gogeta arguably was the best unit in the game until some of this EX mission like content came out with these Supreme Magnificent Battle stages, and now there's all the memes and like screenshots of him dying to normals in slot 1 because these enemies hit so ridiculously hard. But you have to remember that like he just dominates the game in like all the other content. And obviously, as we continue to get new difficult content coming out, any of that content that features bosses that have Ki Blast super attacks, this guy's going to be super, super good. And he still, regardless of defense, still is a unit that outputs an absolute ton of damage. Obviously, being a Carnival LR, he just has the GT Heroes leader skill, which probably hurts him a little bit. Like if he was a Dokkan Fest and he had a couple of categories as a leader skill, I could see that being a stronger argument for him being number 1. But he still has those arguments for being number 1. Obviously, whilst I don't use that to rank units, his animations are some of the best in the game. And yeah, like he puts out super good units, super good attack stats. He's got a really good link set for other units and everything. So Gogeta is really, really good. These guys are at number 3, I guess largely because of their team and how it is at the moment. And that's not to say I think their team is bad. I've said before, I said it on the podcast last night, I think people are underrating their team. Like when we saw their details, a lot of people were calling their leader skill trash, but like I've beaten all of the difficult events, like all the GDC special stages, all the new Supreme Magnificent Battle stages. Like I've no-itemed all of them with this team because while some of the characters on the team are dodge or die, a lot of them do have a very high chance to dodge. And so if RNG does go your way, which again, like I said at the beginning, if you've just had really bad luck with all the dodging units on this team, then I can imagine you not having the team in as high regard. But yeah, I've been able to no-item all of these difficult events from the GDC, including the new stages with this team. Gohan is good, and obviously he can work on his own on a different kind of team, like the Fused Fighters team under the STR Blues, because he just needs a Bond of Parent and Child ally. He really needs Rainbow Orb Changers, because if you don't get this extra part of his passive active, he's definitely not as impressive, and so having the card just stuck as Gohan all the time without this extra part of his passive is really bad. Of course, without the Hybrids allies, you can still do the active skill on turn 5, which then gives him the orbs, but he gets extra damage reduction on turn 1, so his second turn, while you're waiting to use the active skill next turn, if you're running him not on his own team or not with the Hybrids allies, he can be in a little bit of a sketchy spot. But then once you get his active skill off, he can still be pretty solid. I think the biggest problem, I did the video yesterday using him on the Blues team, so check it out if you want to see how he performs like on this different kind of team. But the real like powerhouse of the card is the Goten and Trunks, right? And I often find in this difficult content, you basically just use Gohan on turn 1 and then switch to Goten and Trunks on turn 2, and then you never switch back to Gohan, right? Because these guys, not only are they hitting insane numbers, like mine at 55%, consistently get over 100 million attack. You've got the crazy high chance to dodge, which is even higher versus a super, which is probably the most important thing. They have the chance to raise allies' defense by 50% on their 18 key, which while you don't get to see specifically when that does and doesn't activate, obviously that can be a massive buff. They've got built-in crit chance. They're just really, really good and really, really strong. And obviously when they receive a super, whether they dodge it or not, as long as you do survive, of course, they give allies this extra support, including extra dodge chance. And even though it's only 5% and it's a separate proc, it's just yet another additional way for some of these units to dodge. So this team, when you have these guys next to like physical Goten and Trunks, and you get their active skill turn, so they have guaranteed dodge, so they can sit in slot 1, dodge everything, then these guys attack, with the additionals end up doing like almost 200 million attack stat worth of attacks. Then they dodge everything. Like these guys are just insanely powerful. So I think if the card was just Goten and Trunks, as they are from turn 1, I think they would probably have a really solid argument to be number 1. But I think the Gohan part of the card, whilst I definitely don't think it's bad, I think it lets the card down a little bit. Like Gohan is not as good Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta or the Blues, right? Whereas you could probably argue that Goten and Trunks are arguably as good as Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta or the Blues, right? And Gohan isn't, and you are stuck with Gohan for the first turn or two if you're running him on a different kind of team. And then of course the problem is if you are running him on a different kind of team, these guys don't get their full buffs. That's the big thing, right? These guys need to be on a team that essentially has like 7 youth characters if you want them to be hitting that crazy number. And then they've also got 70% chance to dodge. They need at least 5 hybrids to have their full defense. So they're not going to work on like every team, but if we're thinking about the units just on their own teams, like these guys are incredible and absolutely have the argument to be number 1. Gogeta, of course, very good. GT Heroes is very good. Some of the Easy A's can be hit or miss defensively, like Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, the Pans. Like, they can get into some sticky situations against the harder hitting bosses, but the team does put out a crazy amount of damage. And so when it comes to the Blues at number 1, again, this is kind of RNG, but like Future Saga and Fused Fighters is a crazy good leader skill. And then Goku can just be a unit that sits in slot 1 with an 80% chance to dodge. And so you can have whole runs on these difficult events where he just never gets hit. And then when he does his 18 key super, he gives everybody a 60% defense buff, which is ridiculous. It's not restricted in any way. It's just all allies get 60% defense. And so then everyone else on the turn is going to do better as well. Fused Fighters obviously includes a lot of crazy units. I mean, their leader skill includes most of the GDC characters. I mean, it's all of them except for Omega, right? Because Rosé's on Future and also Fused Fighters. Gohan, Goten and Trunks are on Fused Fighters, and obviously Gogeta is on Fused Fighters. So in terms of leader skill, this unit definitely has, I would say, the best leader skill out of the Worldwide Celebration units, especially considering Future Saga and Fused Fighters got so many buffs. So you've got all of the Super Saiyan 4, like the Gogetas are on there, including the EZA one, the physical LR Super Saiyan 4s, the Tech Gods, all of these guys. The only unit that isn't on this guy's leader skill that would really be like the icing on the cake for their team is the AGL Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but their team is just ridiculously good. I do find the same issue that I find with Rosé though, where I pretty much never switch into Vegeta unless I'm running the Vegeta and Trunks on the team and using them in slot 1. These guys can go in slot 2, switch to Vegeta, give him the buff. I pretty much only ever do it the once, right? Because these guys, he wants to be in slot 3 for his optimal attack. So what you can do is switch over to this guy, active skill in slot 3, so he gets these buffs. Then put him back into slot 2 next to Vegeta and Trunks. Have that one like big turn with him where he gets the extra attack and then the crits. And then after that, just switch back to being Goku again. Because I have had instances where, even when doing that strategy, then this guy's put out a load of damage, Vegeta and Trunks were fine in slot 1, but then he got supered in slot 2 and died, right? Because he has a 50% chance to dodge, which is fine, it's like a coin flip, but then if he doesn't dodge, he has 40% damage reduction, which is obviously not as good as the Super Saiyan Goku having 70% damage reduction and an 80% chance to dodge. So most of the time, especially against the really hard hitting bosses, you're safer just staying as the Goku most of the time anyway, right? But this unit, super good. I mean, this unit will age very well, because even when we get to the point where the unit can't really go in slot 1 anymore, there's still a unit that has an 80% chance to dodge. So then even in slot 2, they're still providing a defense buff to the unit that's in slot 3. Got a pretty good link set, because they don't really have, they have Warrior Gods is kind of the only like Realm of Godsy specific, like everything else, Super Saiyan, Saiyan Warrior Race, Kamehameha, Prepared for Battle, these are all links that like other Saiyans can have. They share 5 links with Gohan from the Gohan, Goten and Trunks, even though they're completely different like arcs, completely different parts of the show, completely different forms, right? Just Super Saiyan compared to Super Saiyan Blue. But because their link set is so good, they link super well with those other units as well. So, like I say, these 3 are number 3, these guys, Goten, Trunks and Gohan. Number 2, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and number 1, the Blues. But they are all in the same colour tier, as I say. So, if you want to make arguments for any one of those 3 being number 1, and then whoever you want at 2 and whoever you want at 3, essentially as long as you think these guys are the top 3, then we agree, even if you think the order should be slightly different. And to be very clear, even though I put them in a different colour tier to the top 3, I don't think that Rosé and Omega are like worlds behind the top 3 at all. I think there is a little bit of a gap, of course, because I gave them a different colour tier, but I don't think it's in any way like a massive gap at all. So the top 5 units all very, very close in quality, which I think is very good for the overall meta of the game. This is one of the things I said last night. Like, if you've come out of the GDC and you've at least pulled like 1 or 2 of the new units, then at least you know you've gotten some really good solid units, unlike some of these celebrations where we get 4 new LRs and 2 of them aren't very good. And so the people that end up only pulling like 1 or 2 of those two, the bad ones, will come out disappointed. Whereas all of these guys, I think, are really, really good. So if we take a look at the proper zoomed out version, you can see there from the bottom, at number 10, we have Super Saiyan 3 Goku, 9, AGL Gogeta, and 8, Tech Vegito, all in the same colour tier. 7, we have the Tech Gods. 6, we have the physical Super Saiyan 4s. Then at 5, we have Rose, and 4 at Omega with the same colour tier. And then 3, Gohan, Goten and Trunks. 2, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and 1, the STR Blue Goku and Vegeta, with the top 3 being in the same colour tier as well. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Like I said at the beginning, if you disagree with any of these placements, do let me know why. Obviously, like I said, if you think any of the ones in the same colour should be switched around, I can absolutely see arguments for that, so let me know what you think those arguments would be, and let me know your personal top 10. If you want to give me the full rundown of 1 to 10, let me know that down below in the comments as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.